Life Stories.
Hello everyone, welcome to another Monday evening live story on Zoom, Facebook and YouTube. Those who are watching, please pass the message on to your friends that can watch this wonderful story tonight on any of those media. And tonight, if you have any needs, you need prayer, you need help, please contact us on our hotline. The number's on your screen. 0794 355 0287, or if you're outside the UK, then it's +44 794 355 0287. You can phone, you can text, you can WhatsApp, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. You can also contact us on our website. You see the website, LifeStoriesWorldwide.com. There you can find out lots of information about all the things that are going on with Life Stories. Tonight, we have a guest from England, although he's not always in England, Russ Taylor, who, when he was 20 years old, joined the Merchant Navy because he wanted to see the world. And he'll probably tell you about that in his story. But then it was in May 1972 when something happened that changed his life. So I'd like to hand over now to Russell. Would you share now, Russell? Thank you.
Hello. Good evening. Okay. When I was asked to sort of share my story tonight, I thought I'd have a look at one of the other stories, which was Charles Duke, who was a astronaut. I don't know if you watched it. And then when I was asked to share my story, I thought, how do you follow that? He's walked on the moon. But of course, what I realized was that everybody's story is important, whether it's dramatic story or what we could consider a simple story. It doesn't matter. Every single person has got a story to tell. And that's the unique thing, isn't it, about people, is that there's nobody else like you that you're watching. There's nobody else like me. We are all unique. Well, my story starts at the age of 7. And I have to give you the background so you can understand where I'm coming from. At the age of 7, I had a happy home. My mum, my dad, two older sisters. But at the age of 7, I remember my father coming home from London. I lived in Essex in the east, Southend-on-Sea. And he came home and he said, I was in London today, which I thought was this great big city. It still is. And I've lost your mum. And I said, I can remember it to this day, it's so clear. I thought, I was only 7. I thought, how have you lost my mum? And he said, he didn't know how to tell us, me and my sisters, I've lost your mum and she's not coming back. And I can honestly say it was like somebody hit me on the head with a hammer. It was such a shock and such a blow to me. And of course, good things always happen at Christmas, don't they? Or your birthday. And I thought, oh, well, she'll come back. But she didn't. And slowly but surely, I realized that I was not going to see my mum again. And I began to hate her. In fact, you know, when friends at school said, where's your mum gone? I'd say, oh, my mum's a bitch. And my father's a criminal. Don't talk to me. So little by little, I was getting angry, bitter, and hurting very badly. I didn't know really what to do with myself. Now, the next part of my story is I went to live with my grandparents at the age of 10 because my father went into prison. I think it was for the third time. My father was a 1950s hood, not a violent man at all, but he was known as Bill the Blower. Now, why was he called Bill the Blower? Because he used to handle gelignite, and they used to blow up safes. And he went into prison, as I say, when I was the age of 10. So I was then split up from my sisters. My sisters stayed with an aunt down in the south of England, and I went to live with my grandparents. That's my father's parents in the north. So you can imagine having lost my mother at 7, having lost my father at the age of 10, then losing my sisters. Of course, my grandparents loved me to death, but it wasn't the same. So I was pretty damaged, really, although I wasn't kind of aware of it. I thought, okay, I've got to make my own way. And I thought, well, really, I need to get back down south and in London. And so I was living in digs at the age of 17 and making, trying this job, trying that job. I'd done all sorts of things, selling. And then me and a friend met together, and the digs that I was living in, the son, he'd been on tankers, on shipping, in the shipping and the merchant navy. And he said, why don't you join the merchant navy and see the world? And I thought, wow, that's a good idea. So me and my friend, we went into London. We went around the shipping agents. We got to P&O. And they said, yeah, you can join. And I was to join as the lowest of low. This was in 1970, 71. And I thought, well, all I want to do is see the world. So it doesn't matter, what job I do. I didn't have any qualifications anyway, so I couldn't have done anything else. So it took us about 3 months to actually, I had to join the Seamen's Union. And then one Saturday, I got a telegram. I don't know if any of you remember what a telegram is, but
Life Stories.
I got a telegram saying, join the SS Canberra, sailing from Southampton on the Monday. This was the Saturday. So me and my friend, we went down to Southampton. We got onto the ship and we had to go to the purser's office. And they'd obviously got all the crew for the ship, and they'd realized just what they were short of. And so there was about 7 of us in the purser's office. And I remember the purser had the clipboard, and he looked down the clipboard and he said, right, 2 waiters. Now, at that point, nobody said anything. And me and my friend said, yes. Now, I'd signed it on as a utility steward. I'd never waited tables in my life. And obviously there was no other waiters there. So he said, all right, go down to the restaurant. It was a 2-class ship then, a first class and second class. Go down to the second class restaurant, see the head waiter, and he'll give you the tables that you're going to serve. So we went down there, and there was all this cutlery and glasses and napkins and things. And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? You know? And so we went to the head waiter, and I said, we've only waited in cafes and cheap restaurants and things like that. We're not quite, oh, that's all right. I'll get one of the other waiters to show you what to do. And I had 2 tables of 4 with 2 sittings, or you had a table of 8 for 2 sittings, first and second sittings. So here we are, we learnt the ropes. And I think the first 2 weeks we went into the Mediterranean, and we learnt the ropes. And if you're personable, it's not difficult. You know, I learnt how to serve properly, and everything was fine. I thought, this is fantastic. And then we came back home, and then we were waiting. And then the next trip, I believe, was a 3.5 months round the world cruise. And that was the thought of that was very exciting. Now, when I say round the world, we actually came back the same way. And I really got used to everything then by that time. But while I was on that trip, we used to drink a lot, but I was never a drinker. And I remember, I think for the first 21 nights I went to a party, but I was never a drinker. But there were other people there who were smoking a lot of dope and taking drugs. Great if you were a passenger, wasn't it? All the crew were taking drugs and boozing themselves up. And we used to, I remember, in the crew pig, they used to call it, the crew pig. A bottle of Bacardi was £1 back then. And there was lots of people drinking and getting drunk all the time and having a right old game. Anyway, it wasn't for me. So I thought, well, I'll give the smoking the dope. I used to smoke. I'll give smoking the dope a go. I thought, well, there's nothing to it, until one of them said to me, oh, no, hold it down into your lungs, and you'll get a buzz, you'll get a high, you'll get stoned with it. And of course, this was the 70s, the hippie era, where there was a lot of people taking drugs, and LSD was big in San Francisco, and where it all started at High Ashbury. And so once I started on the drug scene and smoking a lot of dope, I was then introduced to other things like LSD. And I first took LSD in San Francisco, because where else? Where's the best place to take it for the first time? And I was on speed. We used to take amyl nitrate. I mean, compared to what people get involved with today, it was pretty harmless, but not harmless at all. And when I got home, my sisters recognized the big change in me. And I thought, well, I've escaped from the eat, sleep, work, drink lifestyle. I thought, I'm all these other people who are straight, they haven't got a clue what life's about now. But what it really meant was that I couldn't really enjoy anything unless I was stoned. So in the 3.5 months going around the world, and if you're wondering where we got the drugs from, there were other people on the ship who were kind of experts in smuggling it on board. We had to stash it away when we got into ports. It was quite dangerous, but there was a frisson there of, the danger as well. And they were pretty expert at it. But slowly but surely, I was beginning to get a bit worried about it. So I came back and my sisters saw the change in me. And the second trip was a 4.5 month round the world cruise. And that was a completely round the world, because we went down the coast of America and through the Panama Canal and back out towards Jamaica, Nassau, the Bahamas. So I had been round the world twice before I was 21. Now, that second trip, I was getting heavier and heavier into it, and I was scoring drugs myself. In fact, in Acapulco, we went out into the outside of Acapulco to try and score drugs and buy a kilo block of marijuana. It was quite dangerous, actually. And then we had to smuggle it back on board. I know it sounds kind of dramatic, but when we were in where time begins in Tonga, one of my friends said that they'd been planting seeds. We used to get all the marijuana seeds and we used to sow them wherever we went.
Life Stories.
I think in the Canary Islands, we went and sowed seeds outside the police station, and then to see if they'd grow there. But in Tonga, we went out into the jungle, and we were lighting leaves to find fresh marijuana, which we bring back onto the ship in a big tourist laundry basket, stuff it in there, and then dry it on the decks where nobody could see it. So we were eating it, we were in cakes, we were smoking it, we were drinking it. So I was pretty heavily into the drugs by this time. But this 4.5 month round the world cruise was coming towards the end, and I was getting very worried about what I would do back in England, because we had like half a carrier bag full of the stuff and could smoke it, 3 or 4 joints a night, no problem. But in the UK, I think, you'd be lucky to get just a scrap of it. And I was so addicted to it. And some people say it's not addictive. But if it's not addictive, it's certainly habit forming. And I was really quite in a bad way with it. But I thought to myself, right, you know what? I'll give up for a week just to prove to myself that I can do it, so that when I'm in the UK and I haven't got access to it, I'll be all right. So that's what I tried. But then I realized I didn't last a day. So I was addicted. And the important part of that is that what I did was I was no longer my own master. I gave my will away to drugs. So when I smoked the next one after trying to give it up, I was allowing things to come into my life. I didn't ask them to, but I kind of opened a gateway. If some of you have been on drugs that are watching tonight, you know what I mean. I opened a gateway to some things that were not very nice. Now, at the time, I didn't realize this at all. By then, I had, as I said, I'd been taking LSD and speed and amyl nitrate, and they didn't have crack cocaine, and we didn't have heroin then, but I was quite heavily into all of the other hallucinogenics. And so when this came over me, a great fear then came over me. Now, the ship had been in Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, two ladies joined the ship, and they were on my table. And their names were Judith and Beryl. Can never forget them. And they told me that they had been held prisoner in communist China since the uprising in 1967. And they were missionaries, and they'd been held prisoner there under house arrest. And then 5 years later, so 67, 71, 72, by this time it was 1972. And they joined the ship in Hong Kong, and they told me that they really tried not to get on that ship. In fact, they were from Australia, and they wanted to go directly back to Australia, not back to England, and then have to go on to Australia. Now, I thought they were very weird, these two women, because they used to pray before meals. I thought, what's going on here? And although in my heart I was searching for a meaning to life, searching for something, which wasn't just the drugs, by the way. I was always so restless. I always wanted to do new things, try new things. I'm still a bit like that. A friend of mine says to me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I'm now 70 and I'm still not quite sure what I want to do. But going back to these two ladies who are on my table, this now begins to move towards the end of April. And I was about, 5 or 6 days from home where my last trip was. I was in a pretty bad way. Now, during the drug time, when we'd scored drugs in Mexico, in Acapulco, for instance, people had given me things, and I hadn't done the deal with my friend, but they'd given it to me. And I'd been given probably a rosary, I think, with a cross on the end of it. It had the head of Jesus in the middle, and it had a scene of Calvary embossed on it. I threw it in the drawer. I wasn't interested. I'd had other things given to me. I'm always a bit suspicious of now, especially things that are given to me like that. This was a very religious thing. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'd seen Dracula films. I'll put this cross on me. Perhaps it will protect me. Because I thought there's something not right here. Now, this wasn't the drugs. I was very aware of a darkness and an evil on the ship. Not only that, they were celebrating on the ship, because they used to celebrate all sorts of things, the crossing of the line, this party. There was all about partying on cruise ships. And quite unusually, they were celebrating something called Walpurgisnacht, which in German is from the opera Faust. Now, if you know of the opera Faust, which I didn't, you have to remember I knew nothing, not one thing about all of this. But the opera Faust is reputed that the man sells his soul to the devil, and then on a certain date when he's forgotten, he's wealthy, he's had everything in life, then Satan comes for his soul. And that night is celebrated on the 30th of April. There's 4 major festivals of Satan a year. One is very well known, is Halloween, which we've just had. This is not such a well-known one, Beltane, 30th of April, and it's reputed on that night that Satan comes for your soul. So on that particular night, I was very frightened, very frightened. So the next morning, on May the 1st, 1972, I saw my 2 ladies, Judith and Beryl, at breakfast. And I don't know why. I said to them, if I need help, will you help me?
Life Stories.